Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the Terrace RCMP released articles discussing multiple subjects over the past week. There may be a ceasefire coming in the Israel-Hamas war, and a Vancouver rezoning project is facing opposition.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cal Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. Representatives from the BC Wildlife Federation were in the Northwest this past weekend, educating the public and hosting town hall meetings on wildlife policy in BC. CFTK's Jaylene Matthews has more.
The BC Wildlife Federation has been holding town hall meetings across BC ahead of the upcoming provincial elections. They say too many of British Columbia's iconic species are in decline, with populations of steelhead and caribou at risk of extinction. According to the Federation, the proportion of BC's budget allocated for natural resource management has been in decline for 50 years, leaving wildlife underfunded. Representative Steve Hamilton says it's time for British Columbians to speak up.
Wildlife and habitat has been underfunded in British Columbia for over 50 years, and sometimes going back 70 years. We've watched marked declines in habitat and wildlife across the province, and as I mentioned, it's time to put wildlife first. We're hoping to inform and educate people around the province as to the state of what's going on.
Key demands the Wildlife Federation want to bring to the table are that wildlife management should be conducted by an agency independent of government. Funding dedicated to fish and wildlife management should be increased and driven by legislative objectives, and public access to public resources must be enshrined in law.
We would like to see the next government coming in October to put these demands at front of mind and actually move forward on them. We've seen it over 15 times since 1970 where governments have stated that they are going to put fish and wildlife and habitat at front of mind. They're going to increase funding. They're going to put legislative objectives in there, and that's not being done. It's being used as a bargaining tool. It's being used as that proverbial carrot in front of you saying that they're going to do it, but when they get in office, that's not happening. And we want to see the next government commit to these and move forward with it.
For more information, those interested can visit bcwf.bc.ca. For CFTK TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
It's emergency prepared this week across Canada. The theme this year is Know Your Risks and Be Prepared. CFTK-TV caught up with Terrace Fire Chief Chad Cooper to learn more.
So this week is Emergency Preparedness Week right across Canada. So it started on Sunday the 5th and runs to the 11th. So we wanted to kind of highlight for the Terrace residents Emergency Preparedness Week. So this year's theme is Know Your Risk and Be Prepared. So knowing your risks, so we urge residents within the city of Terrace is know your risks. So here in Terrace we have risks of wildfire, landslides, flooding. So just take an accurate account of all the risks within the region here. So in planning accordingly. So and being prepared. So emergency plan. So with the emergency plan, you're having 2 exits from your house, 2 exits from where you live. So different street accesses. In case one's blocked, you can make your way out to a safe area, and a meeting spot for all your family members. So say if your family's at work and everyone's going to evacuate it, you know where to meet the rest of your family and loved ones and evacuate properly. So now I want to talk about emergency preparedness kits. So 72-hour kits is what we call it. So within those kits you have water, food, rations, batteries, flashlight, battery-powered radio so you can get broadcasts, and then important documents. You want to have a set of documents in there in case you evacuate your home. You have all your important documents. Spare keys, something simple as spare keys for your house and for your car in case you have to evacuate. And you should always be prepared to evacuate on a moment's notice and gather your loved ones and move to a safe area. So within the city of Terrace, we always have the danger of wildfire, flooding, major earthquakes. And also, even if you're traveling throughout the region, you might have a route get cut off and you get stuck on the highway. So we recommend a 72-hour kit for your vehicle too, just to sustain your stuff while you're waiting for first responders to come access you. Just a few weeks ago, the City of Terrace went live with an alerting app called Voyant Alert. It's a new system to the city here, so we're urging residents you can download the app through your app store and register yourself. So with this alerting app, we push notifications for evacuation alerts, evacuation orders, and we basically update the residents of what's happening within the municipality for any emergencies. Regional district is on the system too, so you can set up through the app or online alerting notifications for the regional district and the City of Terrace, and they work seamless. So if you work in the regional district but live in Terrace, you're going to get notifications. So even if you're at work, you're going to get notified.
A pair of recent reports were recently released by the Terrace RCMP onto their website that discussed subjects varying in seriousness. One report detailed the previous week or so and detailed an incident where a man that seemingly was under the influence of drugs and already known to police entered the wrong house and ended up being taken into custody after he would not leave, as he was insisted that he was in the right house. The other report discussed a different case where some broken glass was discovered on the ground at the dog park on Egger Avenue, and a witness claims to have seen glass regularly appear at this park, possibly done by someone with the intention of hurting dogs. The Terrace police are investigating these claims, and anyone who has more information is asked to call them at 250-638-7400. An announcement was recently put out by the Houston District Chamber in regards to their 2024 merchant gift certificates. Those certificates are expected to have a fresh look this year via a rebranding initiative that was able to be done thanks to support from the Northern Development Initiative Trust. One of the major changes that was made includes a change in the look of the Houston merchant gift certificates, as well as an update in their advertising materials. Another part of the rebranding initiative will include a Love Houston BC map created by the Chamber itself that will work to promote local shopping, in addition to the development of a section on its website that is dedicated to showcasing what are being called Love Houston BC businesses. The Houston District Chamber also thanked everyone who helped them out with this endeavor. New developments have happened in the Israel-Hamas war as a ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt and Qatar was accepted by Hamas, but Israel has rejected the proposal as it currently is, and they're sending negotiators to continue talks, a glimmer of hope for a pause in the ongoing conflict. CTV's Colton Pereil has the latest.
Celebrations in the streets of Rafah tonight after Hamas agreed to an Egyptian proposal for a temporary ceasefire. Turkey welcoming it and calling on Western allies to pressure Israel to accept the deal.
We will be discussing this response with our partners over the coming hours. We continue to believe that a hostage deal is in the best interests of the Israeli people. It's in the best interest of the Palestinian people. It would bring...
In Israel, families of the hostages calling on the government to accept the proposal. The Israeli government says they will send a delegation to continue negotiations, despite the proposal being far from Israel's necessary requirements, but will continue military operations in Rafah. Israel's national security minister instead saying Hamas is playing games and calling for the immediate occupation of Rafah.
I think probably without this degree of preparation for an operation against Rafah, which the United States certainly did not want to see, on humanitarian grounds, Hamas would not have been moved to make this indication that they'll accept a ceasefire.
This morning, Palestinians in the southern city woke to pamphlets and radio messages ordering the evacuation of roughly 100,000 people to a nearby humanitarian zone. I'm seriously tired, this woman says. Where am I going to go? Where? Experts are cautioning against further military action in Rafah.
Despite the military goals that do make sense, the costs to civilian lives and to Israel's reputation, I believe, are going to be far higher than any military benefits that can be achieved.
Aid organizations say an incursion into Rafah could essentially end humanitarian aid in the enclave, a message of concern reiterated by the United States and other international allies. Colton Pereil, CTV News, Ottawa.
Coming up next is some more news on the men who were potentially involved in a high-profile murder case. Welcome back. 3 men accused in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar are now in BC and will make their first court appearance in Surrey after being arrested in Edmonton. There is also video of police taking in one of the suspects on Friday. CTV's Yasmin Gandham has the latest.
Come down to the front of our vehicle with your hands up.
This video was taken Friday morning in Edmonton, where officers arrested a man in connection to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Surrey last June. 2 other men in their 20s are also facing first-degree murder and conspiracy charges. Over the weekend, India's Foreign Affairs Minister suggested Canada is to blame.
We have been telling Canada, saying, look, these are wanted criminals from India.
In September of last year, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said there were credible allegations the Indian government was involved in Nijjar's killing. Now he believes many Sikhs are facing threats to their safety.
I know that many Canadians, particularly members of the Sikh community, are feeling uneasy and perhaps even frightened right now.
It brings up trauma for a community that has a long history of oppression in India, when thousands of Sikhs were killed in 1984. To now know the bloodshed continues on Canadian soil is difficult to process.
That sadness or that feeling with them, they're carrying that pain with them.
Nijjar's killing has sparked calls from the Sikh community for an inquiry into foreign interference.
How the suspects were able to come to Surrey, how they arranged a vehicle, how they were weaponized, who helped them, where they stayed.
The 3 men arrested have no apparent criminal record in India or Canada, and 2 were here on student visas.
What questions arise for you then?
Definitely, it's a very big concern. I mean, as a Canadian, it's a big concern that whether our doors are open for anyone. Are we really screening who is coming in and who is going out?
According to Kaushal, it is clear the young men were hired, serving a larger agenda.
Till this date, I mean, it's hard to believe that these 3 individuals have any kind of personal enmity with Mr. Nijjar.
He hopes for transparency in the judicial process. The suspects will appear in Surrey Court tomorrow morning. Yasmin Gandham, CTV News, Surrey.
One of Vancouver's most significant rezoning plans is starting to take shape. The Broadway plan is receiving numerous development allegations, though, as the plan is facing pushback, with some not keen to see high rises in their neighborhood. CTV's Isabella Zavarisi has the story.
There's no hiding the disdain for this proposal in the heart of this leafy Vancouver neighborhood on West 11th and Manitoba Street. Development applications are popping up all along residential streets, part of the city's Broadway plan. Despite years of public consultation, there's plenty of criticism.
Putting a 20-story apartment building on a block which has single-family housing or low-rise housing really changes the whole look and the feel of it.
That's the point, according to one housing advocacy group who says an ideal place to build is in low-density areas close to transit.
We need to legalize more housing exactly in places like this, on the side streets in the city, so that renters also can enjoy our quiet neighborhoods without having to live on these polluted, dangerous, noisy arterial roads.
The plan allows 500 blocks on either side of Broadway to be rezoned. The city says the volume of rezoning applications has significantly increased, up from 29 at the end of 2023 to 46 at the end of the first quarter of this year.
This is replacing 6 duplexes.
Peter Waldkirch with Abundant Housing Vancouver says while he empathizes with those who are hesitant, he says the status quo isn't working.
It's time that some change be welcomed in. And while that can be scary for people, it's how we're going to build a better future for this city.
I'm not against density, but what we need in Vancouver is more gentle density, more infill, and more affordable density.
Of the 150 projects in the pipeline, the city says just over 3,500 units are below market rentals. Not all of the development proposals may come to fruition, but it's clear neighborhoods within the Broadway plan are slated to see some big changes in the next few years. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast will deal with rain and a low at 7 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area shall be on the receiving end of periods of rain and a low at 5 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District is supposed to see a chance of flurries or rain, and their low should be at -1 degree. On the north coast, the next week or so will be made up of days mixing sun and clouds, as well as rainy days with the high bouncing from 14 to 9 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their week should consist of some days with rain, but also some sunny days at a high that moves from 11 to 20 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the upcoming week will have some rain and potential clouds, but mostly sun otherwise, while the high shifts between 13 and 20 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, road sweeping, construction work, paving operations, and even debris on a roadway. Highway 37 has some road sweeping while also having frost heaves. 37A has road maintenance work, and the Telegraph Creek Road has muddy sections and frost heaves. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come is a profile of a man who fell for a rental scam. Welcome back. Closing arguments are underway in the murder trial of a man accused of firing shots into a Richmond restaurant. A man accused of laundering hundreds of millions of dollars was killed and his associate was wounded. CTV's Ben Nesbitt has more.
Crown says Richard Reed fired 7 shots into Manzo restaurant on September 18, 2020, one of them striking and killing Jianjun Zhu. His associate Paul Jin was also shot but survived. Both men were suspected money launderers. Zhu was accused in civil forfeiture documents of laundering hundreds of millions of dollars through Richmond company Silver International in a scheme involving BC's government-licensed casinos. Jin was also the subject of a civil forfeiture suit by the provincial government, accusing him of using the proceeds of crime to open up a martial arts gym. Crown says there was clear planning and deliberation. Mr. Reed spends roughly 20 minutes surveying the Manzo scene. He walked through the parking lot, waiting for the sun to set so he could commit the offense under the cover of darkness, said prosecutor Mark Wolf. Wolf says CCTV footage shows a man matching Reed's description fleeing the scene by foot, and that the murder weapon was later found in a bedroom rented by the accused. Reed has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and attempted murder. His defense will make its closing arguments later this week. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
The next time you're planning a trip, make sure to watch out for signs of a vacation rental scam. One Ontario man just lost nearly $8,000 after falling for a fake listing in Costa Rica. Here's CTV's Pat Ford with some advice on how to spot this scam.
Everything looked so legit.
Barry Good of Midland and his wife love to travel, and every winter they take an extended vacation.
At the end of January, we made a quick decision that we would go to Costa Rica for 3 weeks.
Good searched on Booking.com and found a villa for rent.
Booking.com found 61 other reviews that gave it a 9.8. So that's the first thing. Had a good rating.
When Good reached out to book the villa, the owner said he preferred to communicate using WhatsApp.
We got directed over to WhatsApp, and we started processing the payment through WhatsApp.
Good wired just over $7,700 to book the vacation spot, but after he did that, he couldn't get any more information, and then the listing changed.
The day after I accused them of using fake pictures and a fake listing, the picture's changed.
When Good complained to Booking.com, he was told he shouldn't have wired the funds, and he was offered $500 in compensation.
It doesn't, no matter what platform you're using, if it's Booking.com, if it's Airbnb, whatever, always communicate 100% through the booking platform.
Travel expert Lauren Christie says once you operate outside of a travel website, you lose many protections.
Never ever send the money independently. You should never have that kind of an arrangement with someone. It should always be done through the booking platform.
After we contacted Booking.com, they agreed to review Good's case and told him, after reinvestigating the claim, we hereby offer to settle this matter and give you a full refund. Good was given back all his money, which was great news for him.
I can't say enough about CTV News and the job that Consumer Alert is doing in taking on cases like mine. I thank you very, very much.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is down 23/10 of a cent, the price of gold is down $7, oil is down 10 cents, natural gas is up 1 cent, aluminum is the same. In Toronto, the TSX is up 31.15 points, the Venture Index is up 3.14, in New York, the Dow Jones is up 31.99, and NASDAQ is down 16.69. Still ahead, we'll look at the second round NHL playoffs matchup between the Canucks and Oilers. Welcome back. The Vancouver Canucks are on to the second round of the NHL playoffs where they'll face the Edmonton Oilers. As CTV's Ben Milger reports, despite a better regular season records, the Canucks are considered the underdog.
17,000 fans erupted at Rogers Arena when the Canucks punched their ticket to the second round as the team celebrated on the ice in Nashville. It was back to business on Monday with a full practice ahead of Wednesday's series opener against the Edmonton Oilers.
I think they play deep, they can play physical game, they play fast game, they play good rush game, so I mean there's definitely a lot to expect. I mean, it's a big challenge for our group for sure.
The Oilers' attack is led by all-world center Connor McDavid, who put up 12 points in Edmonton's first-round series. Oilers' alternate captain Leon Draisaitl has 5 goals in 5 playoff games, but expects the Canucks' checking to be tighter.
They played a good series against Nashville, low scoring, so you know they're going to defend well, and so are we, so it should be a good series.
Most odds makers have picked the Oilers to win the series, even though Vancouver beat Edmonton all 4 times the teams met during the regular season. But the Canucks managed just 13 goals in their last series.
When you look at how good Edmonton is offensively, how explosive they are, no matter how well the Canucks play defensively, you'd be hard-pressed to think if this series goes 6 games, they're going to be able to limit Edmonton to just 12 goals like they did in the last run.
Injured all-star goalie Thatcher Demko hit the ice at the end of practice, but is not an option for Game 1. Expect rookie Artur Silovs, fresh off a 28-save shutout, to get the starting assignment. Coach Rick Tocchet says staying out of the penalty box will be key for his team in the series.
You know, they're incredible in the power play, and they feed off turnovers. So I mean, those are 2 things we have to be good at.
The Canucks and the Oilers are the last 2 Canadian teams standing, and the winner of this series will keep their hopes alive to end this nation's 31-year Stanley Cup drought. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
That's our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin. Thanks for watching.